Good morning, Viners. Morning for me, anyway. It's at 10 o'clock, upright 10 on November the 30th. And moving into Rohatsu Sesshin mode. I wasn't going to do an update until week after next, but a number of things have been coming up for me, so I thought I would share some thoughts with you this way, rather than a long entry into the engagement forum. So, let's see, one thing. So, forums and the engagement forum, really important, especially in the interim for participation there. And we have had the guideline, I think, since we started 4.5 years ago, to post one thing once a week. It doesn't have to be long. In fact, think of it as a conversation. Remember that? A conversation. So 100 to 200 words is kind of a lot in a conversation, so you say something and then somebody else says something. You don't have to say the whole thing. Remember Wuman. He says, say 3/5. So shoot for 3/5 at most, and leave it a little open. You can always come back, and say a little bit more later. So anyway, that's the spirit. Have everybody talking together in these forums. And did I say Sean's going to be the engagement facilitator, and Ed Goshen and I will be in Sesshin. David Peterson's also coming out for Sesshin. Really makes me happy to see Viners joining us here in Nebraska. One of the reasons we wanted to come here, to make it so centrally located and also a place, little retreat house where people can come and practice. So that's the idea. And it's happening. It's happening. Very nice group forming up here. Let's see. So please participate once a week. That's one point. And then we've got some other ideas coming up. I want to get back to this thing. We tried this some years ago of having teas. And anybody can do it. I think I'll do one in January where I just throw out a time, and anybody who can make it comes together, so you can get a little bit sense of yourself this way too, because I, and to a lesser extent Ed, get to know you a little bit in the person-to-person mode, even though it's video. It's something, and it's been important, I think. So so I think it'll help create another dimension of community. So want to do that? Anybody's welcome to do that. Anybody in the Vine can just say, Viners, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Anybody can make it, just a half hour. You could have a theme. You wouldn't have to have a theme. You could just say, we'll just chat. See how it goes. 4, 5, 6 people might come. That's enough. So that's one thing I continue to hope that will develop. And we're going to include some things. There's been several good ideas that have come up in the practice period debrief about how to do the practice period. Ed Goshen and I were talking last night, and cooked up a few other possibilities. So look for that for the next practice period. Meantime, it would be good to do some more testing of this technology and see what the capacity is. So that's what I'm interested in. Years ago when we did it, it was several years ago, I think, there was it didn't work seamlessly. So let's see if it does. And as you know, when the technology isn't working seamlessly, it's difficult. So we'll see. Let's see. So there was that. Oh, and Reed mentioned about doing zazen together. That's another possibility. When I have to have tea, you could just say, sitting at such and such a time, join me or not. Make the link available and people can show up. I think that'd be great. So throwing those ideas out. Folks are getting into the coursework, which is good to see. I won't, of course, be tackling anything that comes in until after Rohatsu Sesshin, but I'll get to it, catch up. I usually catch up faster than I think I will, so I like doing it, and see what's going on, and see how you're working with the material. It continues to be fun for me to engage with those kind of reflections. I'm starting to reflect on next year. This year and a half here hasn't been much about settling in and frankly, Tetsugan and I have done a lot of the work at the center, and now we're really wanting, and it seems like people are getting ready to take on more of the responsibility for the center. So rather than working nearly full-time for Nebraska Zen Center, I'm wanting to reduce my hours there and move more into just strictly, as much as possible, teacher capacity over the next few years, I hope. There's other things I'd like to do in this life, so and working with the Dharma, as I've been trained to, is a high priority. What exactly that project's going to be for next year, because like with Divine and with Nebraska Zen Center and, you know, living a life, sort of, it's really not much else than that. But anyway, you know, I got my dog and Tetsugan. That's what I do. We go to a movie once in a while. Like this afternoon, we're going to see a movie. It's the first time for like 2 months or something. But anyway, the Zen life, you got to give up something. You really do. So let's see, where was I? Oh, I'm digging around. I've got 4 or 5 things that I'd really like to do next year. But anyway, I'm sorting that out. One thing that I will do is develop the Diamond Sutra course for the Vine, and maybe the 10 oxyrating pictures. So that's one of the 10 oxyrating pictures is one of the things in the list of stuff that I'd like to get to. But let me just say a word about Rahatsu Sesshin. And you'll notice that there is a file here for the Buddha Shakyamuni. This is something that I made up, actually. It's really not part of the tradition, but it's kind of funny because I've been doing it for quite a long time that I now see people saying, traditionally we chant. Actually, no. Actually, Dosho made this up about 20 years ago or so, something like that, 25 years ago, of chanting the Shakyamuni Buddha for during the Rahatsu Sesshin. Rahatsu Sesshin literally is just 12th month Sesshin, but it refers to commemorating Buddha's enlightenment. And it's a bit of an oddity of the Japanese derived lineages that we have called out the awakening, the birth, awakening, and death of the Buddha at different times of the year. Almost all other Buddhist schools do it the first full moon of, or the 5th full moon. So it's usually in May. I think it's the 5th day of the 5th full moon. But for us, we commemorate the Buddha's enlightenment this first week of the 12th month, and, you know, until the Meiji period in Japan. Of course, it was lunar, and now it's this with the common calendar, if that's what we call it. Anyway, so the first case of Keizan's telling of the lineage, starting with Shakyamuni Buddha and going through his teacher, Tetsugan, what is it? Gikai, I can't remember his name right now. Koen Eijo, I'm sorry. So, yeah, his teacher anyway. No, I was gonna Gikai. So that's it. Anyway, so it goes through 53 generations. And it's the last text that we use in koan study, and then there's a little bit more with the 5 ranks and the precepts, but this is the last full text that we work through. And the first case is about Shakyamuni Buddha, of course. And so we read we chant Keizan's version of the story, and it's lovely and I think very powerful. So it's become for me something that I look forward to every year, just part of the liturgy, the annual cycle of remembrances, commemorations. You know, we say at 19, Sakyamuni leapt over the palace walls in the dead of the night and shaved off his hair. After that, he practiced austerities for 6 years. Subsequently, he sat on the indestructible seat, so immobile that spiders spun webs in his eyebrows and magpies built a nest on top of his head. Reeds grew up between his legs as he sat tranquilly and erect for 6 years, etc. And we do that at noon every day. And I have been here on the Vine sharing this text with you. So you can pick it up as a part of your commemoration of the Rohatsu period. Also, for a Buddhist, for a Zen practitioner, this commemorating of Buddha's enlightenment is a really important part, of our yearly cycle. I invite you into that commemoration. And we'll be sitting. Many places sit the first week, but of course in the modern world everybody's doing a little differently. So some folks like Rochester do it the first week in January, which we continue to think about. That might be a better time for people. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and this culture is pretty tough. But there will be a nice group here doing the work together, and so you might do a little extra sitting, commemorating Buddha sitting day and night for a week and waking up when he peeked up and saw the morning star, which is kind of a nice detail. He had to look up to see it, so it wasn't just even in the story we don't have the Buddha being like perfect. He's not a good Zen student. He's looking around. Yeah. So that's what I have to say today. And look forward to meeting with you. I think I meet with most people the week after Rohatsu, so I look forward to meeting you then. Thank you for your practice.